What's going on, guys? It's your boy Soy Kadagari. Welcome to a new video. You guys wanted me to cover some survivor techs, so here we go. But before we get into it, I will be putting a secret word randomly during the video, and the first person to comment it will get a shout out in the next. Also, for the Megmains that were butthurt over my last video,
we do not care.
The first tech is the dumb tech, aka the Meg tech. Just kidding, sort of. To perform the dumb tech, you drop that lovely piece of wood. I'm sorry. You're gonna drop that pallet on the killer's dome piece, vault that shit, and run away. There's many ways to do the Meg tech, dumb tech. Whoopsies. Which is what you see right before your eyes. And if you don't have eyes, that's okay. We don't discriminate here at Soy Towers, just unless you're a Megmate. The next tech is gonna be the blind tech. The blind tech is when you drop that piece of wood, pallet, I did it again. You drop that pallet right on the killer's forehead, blind the wannabe outstarver, slow vault, and then fast vault back. If they're a good killer, they can either grab or hit you if they realize they aren't breaking the pallet, or they hear you moan, and definitely not in a good way. It's 50-50, but hey, if you pull it off, you're 10 times sexier than you were before, unless you're a Megmate. Crouch tech. The crouch tech is when you, again, drop the pallet on the killer's face, and when they finish breaking it, you run to the corner of them and crouch. On their screen, it looks like you've ran past them, even though it's impossible, but hey, pop off, I guess. It will cause them to either swing behind them or turn around, and by then you'll be across the map. Unless you're a Megmate. Corner tech. The corner tech is when you're in chase, obviously, and the killer loses sight of you, and you crouch around a corner that you just turned to make them think you're still holding W, and you just run right past them when they walk around the corner. A good killer will notice where the scratch mark ends, but hey, good killers are a rare breed, like a decent Megmate who doesn't drop shock pallet at 5 gens because their spine show went off. The jump scare tech. The jump scare tech is a funny tech to pull off. Some people call it the boo tech, but I call it the jump scare tech. It's when the killer loses sight of you and you run back into him and run away quickly as he's coming close to where he last saw you, which will scare him and make him panic swing. That's all I really got for this fucking tech. FOV Tech. The FOV Tech is really good for dead heart users when you're injured, as it makes it look like you're using dead heart. It's kind of like the jump scare tech. It's where you run at the killer and run away again, but you don't have to do this around the corner, but instead when the killer is swing happy. If the killer swings, run into him and then run away again. Simple enough, even for Megmains. The Vulture Tech. I gave it this name, but survivors have been doing this for fucking ages. It's where you vault a window at a decent height that has a big drop, and the killer vaults after you, and you just stand where you land. The killer would have no collision and will end up inside of you. Pause. And the killer will run in either direction and look for you. Spirit Fury Tech. Probably the most underrated survivor tech in my opinion. The Spirit Fury tech is where the killer has Spirit Fury, no shit, and you drop a pallet on their fucking face and the perk activates. While the animation is happening, the killer has 0 collision, which means you can run right past them or hide inside of them. Pause again, making them swing. Spirit Fury can actually be countered if you use this tech, so no more pre-dropping. Use this tech. Please, Meg. Keck Tech. A lot of peeps have a different meaning for the Keck Tech, but the Keck Tech for me is when a killer is vaulting a window, you run at them, and they either get stuck staring into the fucking abyss, or they swing. I don't know why it's named the Keck Tech, but it is. Oh well. Tree Tech. The tree tech is where you run around a tree, going one way and then going the other way, or running around a tree and then spinning. A lot of killers will swing considering a tree is easy to swing around. No shit, it's a piece of wood. But you're built different, a different breed, and if you're a Megmate, you're definitely a different breed, just not in a good way. Whisker Attack. The Whisker Attack is good against, guess who? Mr. Whiskers. The Whisker Attack is where you run out a window or a pallet when Whisker is picking up its power, and at the last second you move to the side of the window or pallet and watch Whisker go fucking zooming and vault. This also works with Demogorgon, just they won't vault. Duh. But instead, they give themselves a fucking concussion. Bush Tech. The bush tech is when you're in chase. The killer loses sight of you and you crouch in a bush. The killer really wouldn't expect it unless they're big brain, which is unlikely the case. So they will think you just held W, but you're just really bringing in your inner Fortnite skills in bush camping. Megmates perfected this tech. They perfected it so perfectly, they do it all game. Congrats, Meg. Now we get into the more difficult techs. The CJ Tech. The CJ Tech is when you have a flashlight, the survivor is down by a pallet, most likely a Megmate, and you drop the pallet on the killer and hope the down survivor ends up on the same side as the killer. If that's the case, fake the blind with the flashlight, and as soon as you see the killer's stun animation end, vault the pallet which will force the pickup, vault back, and then get the flashlight save. I'll have it slow down for you guys to see how it's done in slow motion. The killer cannot interact with something if a survivor is interacting with it. So vaulting the pallet with a survivor under the killer will force the pickup rather than breaking the pallet. A lot of killers are catching on to this, so try your own risk. It's not my fault if you die, you just suck. The Batman CJ Tech. The Batman CJ Tech is basically the same thing, but instead of faking the blind, you shine the flashlight the other way like you're signaling Batman. A killer is normally stunned by a pallet for around 2 seconds, so count to 2 and then vault back and get the save. It's gonna take practice, but practice makes perfect. The Locker CJ. The Locker CJ is the same exact thing as a regular CJ, just with a locker. Fucking obviously. It's a lot harder to hit because you need to make sure you get the right angle, but it is much easier with a flashbang or a firecracker because you can get it even if they're very close to the locker when picking up. With a flashlight though, it's much harder, but practice it and find out what works for you. All I got for this tech, to be honest. Lol. Window tech. Probably one of the hardest techs to time perfectly, but once you do it again and again, it becomes very easy. When a killer vaults a window, as soon as their vault animation ends, they have a split second of having no collision. So you can literally run right past them, and considering they seen you go to one side, they would think you held W, and they really wouldn't realize that you went right past them. That's all folks. Don't forget, if you found the secret word during the video, make sure to comment it below to get a shout out in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell so you get notified when I post a brand new video. Ciao for now. So you could have got you on Twitch, by the way. Teehee. Bitch dance and throw that ass up, blood so big I can blow your ass.